did I just do that for?
My cat run that stick.
Welcome back to my channel. As y'all can see from the title, I got a little sit down video for y'all today. I'm about to be giving y'all a little bit of nursing school advice, specifically aimed towards your first semester of nursing school. So when it comes to your first semester of nursing school, generally speaking, if you're in a BSN program like myself, you completed your freshman year, you completed your sophomore year, and you are now entering your junior year, and your first semester of junior year is when you generally start the first semester of the nursing program. It's generally 4 semesters, and you graduate in 4 semesters, and then you take the NCLEX and become a registered nurse. So I wanted to give y'all information and tips and advice specifically geared towards that first semester, because I feel like the first semester, in my opinion, is the most difficult semester because you're completely adjusting, and when it comes to the first semester of nursing school, you have to completely change and tweak the way that you think, because nurses don't think like everyday normal people. You know, nurses have to think on a critical level because they are responsible for people's lives. So they can't just think about what everybody else would do. They have to think about what is going to keep this patient alive as long as I need them to be alive. I have some tips and tricks and advices that I want to give y'all based off of my first semester of nursing school and all the things that I learned, because not to toot my own horn, but toot motherfucker. I did really good my first semester of nursing school. Anyways, as y'all can see, I got my my pink iPhone 15 Plus. I'm about to go in my notes section and we about to give y'all some advice, okay? Hold on. So my first piece of advice when it comes to nursing school is to know the way that you learn. This is probably one of the most important pieces of advice that you will ever receive for nursing school, because a lot of people will tell you, oh, get a study buddy, or make flashcards, or do this or do that, and do da-da-da-da-da. And sometimes people will try these methods out and they still will fail. You might be wondering, okay, why am I not doing well even though I'm taking all these methods into consideration? It's because you are not taking into account how you learn and how you process information. Study groups do not work for everybody. I'm everybody. I can't work in a study group. I need to be by myself, and I need to be completely submerged and immersed in what I'm trying to learn. The one of the few times where studying in a group did work for me is when I already knew all of the information that I needed to know, and we just did a review session. That was the one time that studying in a group actually worked for me. But for other people, studying in a group will be a great way to learn. As I say, 3 or 4 brains is better than 1 brain. You come together, you guys can bounce off of each other your ideas, and you know, you learned this, they learned this, y'all can come together, give each other tricks and tips and advice. If that works for you, then that works for you. But overall, you need to understand the way that you learn. Whether you're a physical, hands-on person, if you learn by seeing things, if you learn by reading things or hearing things, you need to understand how you learn. So me personally, I think I have a mixture of different things. I'm a hands-on person, and I like to visually see things being done in front of me. For me, when it comes to learning, a lot of my learning comes from watching videos and taking notes on these videos, and then I'll write it down on my whiteboard, teach myself, or I'll teach out loud to somebody or just like an imaginary crowd. And once I'm able to basically hit all these points, I'll go back. Whatever I didn't get right or whatever I didn't write correctly, I'll go back and I'll write in red on the whiteboard, so I know that that's what I need to pay extra attention to, and I'll just kind of teach it back to myself over and over and over again until I hit all those points and I can fully recite and teach anybody, because if you can teach it, that means you know it, period. My next piece of advice kind of goes hand in hand with number 1. You will need to study. Studying in nursing school is not an option. It's not optional. I was one of those kids who in high school and elementary school and middle school, I never had to study. It's like I was in class, you know, I heard what I needed to hear, and I somehow came out making straight A's. That is not the case with nursing school. Nursing school is not something where you can just go to the class and you can listen to the lecture and then go home and take the test and do fine. You are going to fail. Studying in nursing school is not optional. A lot of the times your professors, and I'm not saying that this makes them a bad professor or whatever, your professor's not going to teach you every single thing that you need to know. especially when it comes to the NCLEX. You have to take the initiative to go out of your own way to figure out that information for yourself. If you just go to class and that's the only way that you get any information for these tests and for your ATI exams or whatever the case is, you're going to fail. And when I say you're going to fail, I mean you're going to fail miserably. I don't care how smart you are. If you don't study, you're going to do poorly. Period. So you can also come up with different ways for you to study. You can make flashcards, you can do practice questions. Practice questions are a great way to learn how to study, especially if you're studying for like med-surg, because med-surg questions will take anybody out if you don't know how to answer those questions. So practice questions, you can, do the method that I told you guys before when it comes to speaking out loud, writing it out on a whiteboard and teaching it back to yourself, going back in and, whatever you didn't get on the whiteboard, writing back in red, and ensuring that you go over those topics a little bit more thoroughly so you have everything down packed. But for the most part, figure out different ways that you study. Don't just do one, do multiple methods and figure out whatever works for you and run with it. The next piece of advice that I want to give is that you need to study to understand. You're not just studying to memorize, especially when it comes to subjects like pathophysiology. When you want to understand the disease processes in the body, you don't want to just memorize how those processes work, because patients, a lot of the times when you're in clinicals or you do a nurse externship, these patients, it don't matter if you tell, oh, I'm a student nurse, I'm a nurse extern, they're still going to be asking you everything there is to know about the disease or the procedure that they got going on. So you need to understand the way that the body process works. And by understanding the way that the process of the body works, you don't even have to understand every single little mechanism of how everything works. But as long as you understand the concept and you understand how that disease process affects the body, you'll be able to answer any question about that process. If you're trying to figure out the disease process of Parkinson's disease or multiple sclerosis. If it's multiple sclerosis, so exactly what in the body it is affecting. It's essentially a disease where there is damage to the myelin coating. There is damage to the myelin coating of the nerves that basically sends signals to the brain and the spinal cord. So it's essentially the body attacking itself. It's the immune system attacking itself. So it's known to be an autoimmune disease, but understanding these disease processes makes understanding the questions a lot simpler, because you're not going to know every single thing. Obviously, you're not a doctor, so you're not going to know every single little piece of information, but if you know how the body works and you know how this disease process works and you put those two things together, it makes answering those questions a lot easier, because patho will take you out if you're just trying to memorize and not understanding what you're doing. Another thing that goes hand in hand with those things is knowing exactly how to answer certain questions. Specifically for med-surg, I can't even really explain to you guys. It's med-surg questions are asked in a way that are it's trying to trip you up and get you to, I don't even want to say that it's trying to make you get it wrong, because I don't think that they want you to get anything wrong, but it's just kind of if you don't change the way that you think, you're going to be incorrect. Let me give y'all a little example. So say that you have a patient, right? And that patient is kind of, in a delirious state. Maybe they have dementia, whatever scenario you want to make up for this person, but they're not all the way there in their right mind. So this patient is walking around in walking around in the unit, and they don't want to sit down, they don't want to go to their bed, but they're walking back to their bed, and they can't find their room now, and they're just all over the place, right? So you have a couple of options for what you can do, right? You can either, get a form of restraint, make them stay in bed. You can put both of the railings up. You can get a little red balloon and you can tie the little red balloon on their door so they know that that's their door. Or you can get them in a jerry chair and place them at the nurse's station. So which one would you do? Would you believe that the correct answer to that one is to tie a balloon to their room so that they know how to get to their room? Essentially, any type of restraint is going to be your last option. You don't want to use any type of restraints on them as your first priority action. And then on top of that, putting both of their bedsides up is a form of restraint as well. So my next piece of advice has to do with pharmacology. So with pharmacology surprisingly enough was actually what I was probably the most scared of, but it ended up being my favorite subject. And I think that it actually encouraged my love for learning about medications, which is a large part of the reason why I kind of want to go to med school.
Boy, if you don't get...
Essentially, how I excelled in pharmacology, because I did pass pharm with an A, is I used mnemonics. So there are a bunch of cool, cute little mnemonics that you can use to remember different drugs and drug classes, because the last thing that you want to do is try to go through and memorize every single drug individually. You want to memorize drugs by their classes. If you have beta blockers, I said beta. If you have beta blockers, those drugs are going to end in olol, right? So you have like propranolol, metoprolol, labetalol, and you have all these olols, and you know that obviously these are blood pressure medications. Places that I went were on YouTube, and they were Pixarized and Simple Nursing. So essentially they would have like a big picture, especially for Pixarized. Like Pixarized would use like a big picture, and within the picture they would put different types of things. Like for me, for when it came to learning about beta blockers, they had a beta fish with a lollipop. So it was kind of like, you know that a beta blocker is going to end in olol, like a lollipop. So yeah, it just had different things like that, and different things within the picture that help you kind of associate this picture with the different side effects. And it's just a really cool platform. I really do recommend checking out Pixarized. I'm gonna put like a little thing here so y'all know what symbol to look for. And Simply Nursing, they got me through pharmacology real bad because I was so stressed out about pharm, but pharm actually ended up being my favorite subject of all time. I absolutely love pharmacology. My next piece of advice is when it comes to sharing your grades, like after you take a exam or anything like that, honestly, every single time somebody asks you, like I just okay, when it comes to sharing your grades, when it comes to taking exams, or when it comes to your overall grades, it's not always malicious, but I do want you guys to be very cautious, because sometimes people will ask you for your grade just to kind of compare their grade to yours and see if they did better than you, and see, sometimes there's not always good intention behind it. But it's like with me and my little friend group, like, you know, we would share our grades, and, you know, we would be like, you know, cheering each other on, and like it wasn't malicious at all. At least like on my behalf. I know obviously for me for certain, because I'm myself, it was never anything like, you know, oh, I'm trying to be better than you, I'm trying to do better than you. So just know your audience, know your people, and just be cautious, move cautious. It's probably best to just keep your grades to yourself, but if you have some people that you trust, you know, talking about it, de-stressing, talking about your answers, some things you got right, some things you got wrong, it's not always a bad thing. I don't want y'all to go into nursing school thinking that everybody is out to get you, but just know that some people are out to get you. And I say that some people are out to get you because I just remember from my class, like within the last couple of weeks of my first semester of nursing school, there was like this big cheating scandal where it was like somebody found out that somebody was cheating, and then they sent it in a group me, and it was just like this whole big thing where it was just kind of like, you never know who's watching you. So don't cheat. That's another thing. Don't cheat. Do not cheat. You got people's lives in your hand. You need to know what you're doing. Do not cheat on these exams or these tests or nothing. Do your schoolwork and study so that you know what you're doing. Period. My next piece of advice would be to invest in yourself. So everybody knows that nursing school can be quite expensive. I'm not saying that you have to get the most expensive of everything. I feel like, you know, if you are fortunate enough and you can get, you know, certain things, and go for it. Like, I do strongly recommend getting an iPad. I love my iPad, I love my MacBook, because I feel like they take learning to another level. So I'm not saying you need to get a MacBook, but I do 100% recommend investing in an iPad, especially when it comes to taking notes, because you can take notes directly on your PowerPoints, you can record your lectures. I use this application called Colornote. I'll put the application right here. I do recommend an iPad, or just like a device in general that you can write on, because you can make your notes really, really pretty, and you don't have to worry about, you know, writing on a piece of paper and stuff like that and losing the paper, because it's all in your device. So yeah, I do recommend investing in yourself and buying stuff to make yourself feel good. My next piece of advice has to do with clinical. I believe that your first semester of nursing school, I don't think you start clinical immediately. You wait like a couple of weeks and you do go through a bunch of stuff, and then you start clinical. But I know once you get further into the semester, clinical will start within the first week of school. So when it comes to clinical, I need you guys to go into clinical with a plan. I want you to go into clinical being productive. I don't want you guys to sit around when there's quote unquote nothing to do, because when you're in a hospital, there's always something to do. Something needs to be cleaned, somebody needs some water, somebody needs like booty wiped, something. There's always something to do. Be productive. Do not just expect your teacher to come and get you every single time to show you how to do something, or show you a new skill, or show you a new disease process, or whatever the case is. Take the initiative and go figure those things out for yourself. Take the opportunity to try to do everything, even if it's simply just repositioning a patient in bed or wiping their ass. Do everything you can. And if your teacher is asking you, oh, do you know how to do such and such, and you've never done it before, ask questions. But even if they're wanting you to do this skill with them, they want you to improve, they want you to, you know what I'm saying, to get these hands-on practical skills, even if you're scared, Do it scared. So when it comes to certain skills, there are some skills that you would just never get until you do it on a person, including things like starting an IV. Unless you can do it on a dummy 50 times, but starting an IV on a human being is a completely different ball game than doing it on a dummy, because dummies' veins don't generally move. Humans' veins move. Humans have different veins depending on the human you're working on. It's just something that you have to do over and over and over and over again, and that goes for plenty other of skills. If you're scared, do it scared. Ask questions if you don't know how to do it. I'm not saying going somewhere shaking and shit. If you don't know how to do it, ask questions and, maybe watch somebody do it the first time. But once you feel like you got it in your head, do it. I still remember the first time I had to take out an IV. I was over here scared out of my mind, okay? But now I can take IVs out like a pro. It's nothing. Like, taking out an IV is like 1, 2, 3 simple. But it's like there are just certain skills that you just have to do by yourself in order to get the hang of. You can't just learn just by reading a book or by doing it on a dummy. You have to do it on a human. So take that initiative to go out of your way to figure out things that you can do and figure out things that you can see and help with in the hospital. Do not go in there sitting on your phone and sitting in a corner somewhere. No. Go figure out something to do. You need to be doing something. You're there to learn. So my next piece of advice would be to know your medical abbreviations and your med dose measurements. Okay, so when it comes to especially your med dose measurements, because I think every single nursing program at one point has a math test that's known as the med dose calculations test, where you basically have to use these conversions and figure out, the proper dosage for certain medications for your patients. But it's a paper test, and a lot of places you have to get like a certain score. From my school, you have to get 100% in order to stay. We have one every semester. You have to make 100% to stay. We have 3 chances, and then if you don't stay, you automatically are dropped. And I know it's very, very scary, but it's like once you get the hang of, doing certain med doses calculations, it becomes very simple at a certain point. Like, it's not the most nerve-wracking thing in the world. It's the same things over and over again. You just have to know what you're doing. So when it comes to knowing medical abbreviations and med dose calculations, like when it comes to med dose measurements, you have to know things like a grain is equal to how many milligrams, right? So you know that 1 grain is equal to 60 milligrams, or like a cup is equal to 8 ounces, right? And 30 milliliters is equal to 1 ounce, and 1,000 milligrams is equal to 1 gram. Like things like that. Just knowing your conversions and also knowing your medical abbreviations that you're gonna see in the hospital. Like if someone is directed to receive a medication Q8H PO, that means that they need to receive medication every 8 hours orally. You have to know these different abbreviations, because not knowing these abbreviations can kill someone. It seems like it's not a big thing, but it's a big thing. I would suggest working on med dose calculations before you even touch your first semester. It's something that's super, super important. I remember I started learning about med dose calculations, I want to say like 2 months before I even started the program. Maybe it's a little late notice now because I think everybody is starting school in August or September, but if you haven't started by now, I strongly suggest starting right now. As soon as you click off this video, start. And you can go to, I think her name is Registered Nurse RN, or Sarah. I hope y'all can see this, but her YouTube is Registered Nurse RN. She always has the purple scrubs on, so if y'all need an indication that it's her, it's her. And she has some med dose calculations videos on her channel. You might have to look it up individually because it's pretty far down, but she does like a really great explanation on how to solve med dose calculations when it comes to reconstitutions or working with grains, or just simple med dose calculation problems. I strongly suggest looking at her videos and solving those problems with her, because yeah. So the next piece of advice that I would give is to do every single extra credit assignment. I don't care if you have a 98 in their class. You need to get all the points possible that you can get. Okay? You need to get all the extra credit points. Milk them, okay? Because a lot of people don't take advantage of those extra credit points, and those extra credit points can be the determining factor between an A and a B, or it can be the determining factor between a C and failing. Oh, it don't matter how good you think you're doing in the class, things can change like this. Do not take those extra credit points for granted. And also, extra credit points are extra credit. Why not just do them? They're usually not as difficult as the normal assignments, so literally just do the assignments. And my final piece of advice, which I actually think is number 1, the number 1 piece of advice that y'all need to know in nursing school, is to please take care of yourself. Okay? Nursing school will take you the out if you don't take care of yourself. You need to go have fun. You need to get rest. If you got children, you need to send the kids to the grandparents' house real quick. But you need to take care of yourself. Go out with your friends, have fun. Buy stuff for yourself. Make yourself feel good. Take care of yourself. Make sure you're doing your skincare routine. Make sure you're going to get pedicures, because you might not be able to get your nails done, but you can get your toes done. Go get your waxes done. Go get your lashes done if you're allowed to wear lashes. Go make yourself feel good and breathe. Because nursing school, you're going to do just fine. I promise you. A lot of people really overestimate. Like they just think that nursing school is just going to be the worst thing ever. And I'm not going to say that nursing school is easy. I'm not going to say that. But the most important thing in nursing school is literally just managing your time correctly. If you can manage your time correctly, you will thrive in nursing school. Please take care of yourself. If you have any distractions, or if you have anybody in your life that you know is not good for you and is making you feel like crap all the time, it's time to cut them out. Because nursing school is when you need to buckle down and do what you got to do. You need to get in and get out and go take your NCLEX and go get your money. You're probably watching this a couple weeks before nursing school, stressed and scared out your mind. You're going to be just fine. You're going to be fine. You're going to be okay. You're going to do a great job in nursing school. So breathe, relax, and don't forget to take care of yourself. So this is the end of this video. That's all the advice that I have to give y'all. If you did like this video, please make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe. And I love y'all so much. And also my birthday coming up. So bye.